Welcome back to 52 at 52. I'm Matt McDowell, and I'm telling stories about the 52 jobs I've had in my 52 years here on this planet called Earth, Gaia, or what are some other names for Earth? There's a bunch of them. I don't know all the names for Earth. We've made it halfway. Welcome to job number 26. Golf course mower or maintenance. Mower, maintenance. Halfway there. I can't believe it. This thing has been and continues to be very fun and quite a burden. Once you embark on something like this, it's like, got to finish off. And so golf course maintenance, mower maintenance. While I was working part-time at Shopco, see last week's episode, if you want to review, if you need to review and catch up. Working at Shopco part-time, and that one was a hard one for me because I didn't have a lot of interesting stories, but man, golf course maintenance, I have lots of stories. And this one really, I loved this job. I worked in Provo at East Bay Golf Course. And it's funny because I was thinking about this. And I was like, what was the name of that golf course? I was thinking, was it Seven Peaks? No, that was the water slide park next to it. I couldn't figure it. And then it's like, oh yeah, it was. And as I went to look it up, as I'm Googling in, golf courses in Provo, boom, East Bay comes into my head. East Bay Golf Course was built on a landfill. It was built on the old dump. This is quite common to build golf courses on dumps, which is good and bad. It's good because there was a dump there, and now there's a beautiful golf course with lots of ponds, and East Bay had water on every single hole. It was amazing. But it's bad because stuff has a tendency to, like secrets, some of the trash rises to the surface. So sometimes you'd see needles, old needles rising to the surface in the ponds, and you have to dish those out. And one time there was a big pocket over by one of the greens, and this guy says, Darcy, I think his name was. He says, hey, Matt, come here. And he shows me this thing. I go, what is it? He was pushing it. It was grass, and he could push it like it was a full belly or something like that. And he takes his knife, and he sticks the knife in there, and he takes his lighter, and he lights it, and flame starts coming out. Little trapped methane gas pocket there on the 11th green. So that was and also tires have a tendency to rise up, and so if you were planting a tree and it was near a tire, the tire would come up and the tree would die. In fact, one time we were planting trees, and it was raining, so it's like, okay, we can't mow or anything like that. You guys go out and plant trees, these ones that were all dead. And I want to be in the exact same spot. I was like, okay, so we have all these trees in the back of the truck, and we'd be in the truck, and it was raining, and we'd run out there and we'd pull the tree out, and we'd start digging, and you get about this far, and there'd be a big tire there. And instead of moving it, we would just plant it right there. It's like, that tree's going to die. Tires versus trees. New trees, tires win out every single time. Some of the reasons I liked this job. It was outside. I was mowing grass, which is fun. You're on a big tractor. You're sitting down mowing grass. I worked with lots of characters. There was a whole team of us, and these guys had stories, and they were characters. And that was always fun to work with a bunch of characters. And free golf. Got to play a lot of free golf. Let's talk about the outside part. That was good and bad. In the early spring, it was kind of bad because all I had to wear was a thin little Levi jacket, the kinds that were popular back in the 70s and 80s, those Levi jackets. That's all I had. It was all like tattered. I loved that thing. I think I wore it till my mom turned the collar. I was constantly in that thing. Anyway, Levi jacket, that's all I had to wear. And at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Utah spring morning, it's snippy. And you're not moving or anything because you're just sitting on the tractor, the mowing tractor. So that was kind of cold. And then, obviously, in the summer it would be hot. My job was to mow the tees and the aprons. The tees are where you tee off from. And the apron is the little fringe around the green. And that was my job. I had to mow the tees and the aprons. Here, my training consisted of, I had an interview, met with the guy, when are you available, blah, 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 blah. More about the guy later. And he goes, okay, so I show up to the first day at work, and I go, okay, Matt, you're on that machine right there, and you'll be mowing the tees and the greens on holes number 1 through, you'll do the front 9, and then you'll do, most of the executive course, because there was, back up a little bit, there was the golf course, 18-hole golf course, and then right in the middle, there was a 9-hole executive, 3-par, which was great. If you don't want to play all 9, all 18, you could play this little 3-par. It's a lot of fun. But those had to be mowed as well. Anyway, so I was just told, mow the tees and the aprons on such and such holes. And then everyone just kind of walked off. Now, I've driven tractors before, but I'd never driven a mower before. And I thought that there would be like some sort of training period where like they would say, okay, here's how you bring down the blades and here you engage the blades. Nope. There you go. I had to ask someone how to start it. Hey, how do you start this thing? Oh, you start it right here. Boom, start it. On my way out there, I'm looking at all the levers. And they were marked, obviously, I'm assuming, because no one ever trained me on it, and I just had to figure it out. And figure it out I did. It was one of these weird situations, and I've had this happen to me a couple times in my life, where I was so good at something. Well, not so good. I was good at something, and because I was good at it, I missed out on like promotional opportunities, because it's like, I guess we could move him up to that, but he's really good at that. And the promotional opportunities in the golf course were, let me tell you, they weren't that abundant, or it wasn't a promotion at all. Basically, the guys who mowed the greens, the greens themselves, they would mow those greens, and there were a bunch of them because the greens had to get mowed fast, whereas the tees and the aprons, you can take your time. Those guys would go out there and they'd hit it hard, and they'd mow those things, and then they were basically kind of goofing off for the rest of it. They drive around their cart and make sure that there's toilet paper in the bathrooms, but they're kind of goofing off. But I never got that job because the boss liked the way I did the mows. The boss liked the way that I mowed the tees and the greens. In fact, at first, there was two guys mowing the tees and the greens. And then some people left, and it's like, you know what, Matt, you can just mow all the tees and the greens. So I was just mowing all day long on my tractor. There were maybe 10 guys there working there. I can't remember how many. I don't want to figure out how many. But there were about 10 guys. Let's say 10 guys. 7, 8 guys. I don't know. Something like that. And half of them were going to BYU. They were college, but they were working their way through college. It was a summer job for them. And the other half were town. Just like if you've seen Breaking Away, you got the townies and you got the university kids. It was right there. Boom. You had half and half townies, half and half college kids. And guess where I landed? Right smack dab in the middle, which is right where I like it, because I had my university degree, so I was a college kid, but I lived in town and I wasn't going to college, and so I was right there in the middle. The town guys would talk to you, the university guys would talk to you, but man, let me tell you, those two groups, they did not talk to each other. I mean, it was definitely a us and them kind of situation. But I was right in the middle, which was perfect. Now, the boss was this guy, and he was tall. I'm going to say he was like 6'7", lean. I think he smoked. And he was like Marlboro Man with a 5-iron. The guy was like steely-eyed, deep tan, He was the real deal. And I think in the summer I worked there, I think he maybe said 100 words to me. Obviously, he wasn't training me on the mower at all. But because he said so little that when he did talk, everybody paid attention. Partly he was the boss, but partly if he started to tell a story, everybody gathered around and it was like, he's telling a story. And his stories were usually pretty good, and he was quite a character. I can remember him hitting a 1-iron from the maintenance shed. So you're in the maintenance shed, and he shoots it through the maintenance shed doors, which were pretty big, and he hits it over the first tee. And there was two foursomes of ladies on the first tee. Hits it over their head into the pond behind them. They had no idea. Off the cement. We thought that was great. I still think that was kind of great. I mean, what if he'd hit those ladies? Yeah, it's the superintendent of the golf course. Taking out some ladies. His second in command, he was a guy named Cue Ball. He called himself Cue Ball. Everyone called him Cue Ball. Why? Pretty obvious. He had a completely bald head with a big mustache. And he was, he would tell us all what to do. He was the main guy. I think he was the one who showed me how to turn on the tractor. And his passion was softball. I mean, he loved softball. I don't think he played golf ever, but he told me that the year before he'd played in 250 softball games in a year. Yikes. And this is in Utah where there's seasons and you can't play year round. That's a lot of softball. My favorite quote of his was, we're doing something, I'm talking about reading and how much I like to read, or some book I was reading, and he just kind of humps. He goes, man, yeah, I can't read for shit. Just kind of like, yep, I'm 30, can't read for shit, and that's the way it's going to be. Then there was Boyd, the mechanic, and he would make sure that everything was sharp and all the engines were running good. And this guy was fantastic because he would say, when we'd have these, like, what would you do if you had $1 million? He goes, I'd be doing the same thing that I'm doing right now, fixing engines, messing around with mechanical stuff, only I'd be doing it on race cars. And you know what? That is exactly where you want to be. No matter what you're doing, if you had $1 million, you'd still be doing it. And that was Boyd working at the golf course, fixing these small engines, making sure the blades were sharp. He was also a country western guitar player, and he was always trying to get me to play country western music. He goes, but I didn't have a bass. He goes, you can pick up an easy $40 here. You come in, you play one night. These songs are easy. And they're playing all these country western songs, and like, in the break room and stuff. And man, I had never heard any of these songs. And they're all like, man, I'm so sick of this song. I go, man, I've never heard this song. For many years, I was very obsessed with golf and would play a lot. And this was a great job for me. We'd go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. At 10 o'clock, we'd have our first break. And by then you're starving, so you'd eat your lunch at 10 o'clock in like your 15-minute break. And then you'd go out and you'd work till noon, which was just 2 hours later, And at noon, we would hit balls. You'd go out to the driving range and you hit golf balls for a half hour. And then we would get off work at 2:30, and then it was free golf. And twilight hadn't started till 3, so no one's out there. It's open wide tees for all the maintenance people. And the golf course superintendent, the guy, our big boss, the man who didn't say very much, he kind of designed it that way because he loved golf. He was really good. I mean, he was like almost a scratch golfer. And he was like, he liked that his maintenance people were out there playing golf. And we would go out there. I'd go out there every day that I wasn't working at Shopco, and I would play golf, which was almost every day because I think eventually I quit the Shopco job to concentrate on golf and golf course maintenance. There was this one guy, and this guy, if there was a putt from like 10 feet out, 10 to 6 feet out, man, he was dialed in. He would sink that thing every time. He was really good at that. So one day he's like, hey, Matt, let's bet. He always wanted to bet. I didn't want to bet. And then one day he would just wear me down. He's like, okay, we'll bet. And so we go and we bet. And man, when money was on the line, he couldn't make those putts to save his life. And we got to the end, and I think he owed me like $10 or something like that. He was like, hey, and we weren't making that much, right? So I think we're making $5 an hour or something like that. And so $10, that's 2 hours of his day. And he's married, and he's got 2 kids, and he's just scraping by just like all of us. So we get to the last hole, and we both have these pretty good putts to finish out. And so I hit my putt in, and I win. So that means I'm up like $10. And so he has this 6 or 8 foot putt that he's got to make. And if he makes it, he still owes me the $10, but that's about it. And he goes, hey, look, double or nothing that I make this. And look, I didn't want his money. I didn't really want the $10. I mean, I could use it, obviously, but I didn't want him to not have it because I knew that was 2 hours of work. And I go, absolutely, double or nothing. You make this. Because this guy's rock solid. Man, he misses it. And so it's up to $20. And then he goes, boom, okay, double or nothing. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, because I don't want his $20 now. And he misses it again, so it's $40. And I go, we're not doing double or nothing. He goes, no, I can't do that. And so but he paid me his entire day's wages. He blew gambling to me. And guess what? After that, whenever he'd say, let's gamble, I would say, no, thank you. Because I don't want that on my conscience. Don't want that on my conscience. The only downside of this job was the expectations I had for myself. I felt like I should have been, doing a better job. I should have been doing something different, like the whole time. And this is, comes up again and again. You're never satisfied with where you are. You're like, I have a college education. I shouldn't be working on the golf course moving rocks. I should be doing something else. Instead of just enjoying that time that you have, the only thing that made this job not super great was my expectations that I should be doing something better, making more money, doing something with more status, have more power, more, said the baby on the golf course. You take those things out, and which you do because memories, you forget about how anxious you were about stuff like that, and you're just left with these fun memories and of all the crazy stories that these guys would tell. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Job number 26, halfway through. I can't believe we're halfway done. Actually, I can believe it. But next week, exciting stuff next time. Very exciting. This is the dream job. This is the job I'd wanted since I was, in high school and still want to this day. And it's the dream job. That's coming up next week on 52 at 52. Stay tuned. Tell your friends. Get people to subscribe. Next week, big week, job 27. What could it be? Who knows? I know what it is. in the comment section, maybe you could like have some guesses of what you think job number 27 is. That should be fun. Maybe in the comments here, if you want to comment, you can write, okay, I think the next one's going to be this. I could leave little hints. We could have prizes. We have a big prize, trip to Hawaii for the correct answer. Wouldn't that be awesome?